Hello, wine lovers! I am Miroslava, sommelier and wine educator, your guide on this journey through a world of wines, spirits, and cocktails. Riesling is one of the noble grape varieties growing worldwide. It was highly favored by wine lovers until the mid-20th century. Germany became a renowned wine-producing country largely because of Riesling, which is in fact native to Germany. Riesling accounts for the largest share of the grape planting in the country, making the classic Riesling unmistakably German. In the mid-20th century, however, Riesling's popularity declined for two main reasons. The first was a natural shift in consumer preferences, which often happens as people seek variety. Over the past few decades, among plant wines, the top spot has passed from Riesling to Chardonnay, and then from Chardonnay to Sauvignon Blanc. The next trend is already on the horizon, and there is a good chance Riesling could reclaim its former glory. The second reason for the Riesling's decline was due to the greed of certain German merchants and confusion over naming. Some merchants labeled simpler, lesser-known varieties with a famous Riesling name. These wines often carried additional terms like Welsh Riesling, Lasley Riesling, or Olas Riesling, but consumers only noticed the word Riesling and drew the wrong conclusions. Many were disappointed in Riesling even though they had not actually tasted true Riesling. As a result, Germany, where Riesling has been cultivated since at least the 15th century, damaged the reputation of its flagship grape. When buying a bottle of Riesling, always check the grape name carefully. It should be spelled exactly as Riesling. True Riesling may sometimes label it with the word Rhin, or Rhein or Rhin depending on the language, but any additional words or alternative spelling indicate that the wine is not true Riesling. Today, Riesling is regaining its reputation as a high-quality wine. In Germany, new winemakers are bringing fresh ideas, while regional like Australia and North America are also producing exciting and distinctive Riesling wines. Riesling is one of the few grape varieties that can produce wines across a wide spectrum of styles. Its taste is highly influenced by terroir, it ages well, and it can be made in any level of sweetness, and it's even suitable for sparkling wine production. In short, Riesling offers plenty of variety. The core characteristic of Riesling are its high acidity and a delicate yet pronounced floral and fruity aroma. Riesling's flavor is strongly shaped by terroir. Terroir is a favorite term among winemakers, referring to a combination of local climate, geography, and soil. It plays a key role in defining of wine character. Wines made from the same grape variety but grown in different terroirs can taste completely different. Different grape varieties vary in how sensitive they are to terroir. Riesling is particularly sensitive. Its taste can change dramatically depending on where the grape are grown. For example, Riesling from the cool Mosel region in Germany tends to have a high acidity and green apple aromas, while Riesling from the warmer region like Alsace in France or Clare Valley in Australia show notes of citrus and peach. Riesling thrives in cool climate, and when aged, it tends to lose its vibrant acidity and fruity aroma, becoming flat and unspring. I have come across Riesling like this from certain areas of California. The key regions for Riesling production are Germany, Austria, France, Alsace, Australia, Clare Valley, the United States, New York and Washington, and Canada, Ontario and British Columbia. If you want to experience a quality Riesling, these are the regions to look for. Rieslings are typically enjoyed young. In their youth, they display fresh floral and fruity aromas, with bright notes of apple, peach, citruses, gooseberry, rose, and fresh grass. The exact aroma profile depends, of course, on where the grapes were grown. What all Riesling share is their refreshing, vibrant acidity. At the same time, Riesling is one of a few grape white variety that also benefits from aging. It is important to understand that not every grape variety produces wine that improves with age. I am referring here to the general potential of grape variety to improve over time, rather than whatever specific wine is suited for aging. Both are two different things. When it comes to white wines, Riesling, Chardonnay, Semillon, and Gewürztraminer are good examples of variety that can evolve beautifully with age. Their flavors become more layered and complex. On the other hand, variety like Sauvignon Blanc and Pinot Gris are best enjoyed young. Over time, they lose their fresh, fruity aromas without developing new ones. But this is the topic for another discussion. Riesling, with its high acidity and complex aromatic profile, is ideal for aging. Young Riesling typically has a pale golden color with a greenish hue. As it ages, it deepens in amber yellow. This darkening over time is common for white wines, though the exact shades vary depending on the grape variety. As Riesling matures, residual sugar diminishes, making the acidity more pronounced. Fruity aromas fade, giving way to mineral notes. The flavor becomes more layered and intriguing. A distinct petrol aromas is a hallmark for aged Riesling. Sweet Rieslings, especially those with higher sugar level, like German's Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese, are even better suited for long aging, as sugar acts as a natural preservative. Top quality sweet Rieslings can age for over 100 years, improving in complexity over time. However, certain higher quality dry Rieslings can also age for a century without losing their charm. Agents like Alsace and Clare Valley are known for their bold dry-aged Rieslings. Let's return to the petrol note I mentioned earlier, often found in aged Riesling. Some fans of young Rieslings find it off-putting, but lovers of mature Rieslings greatly appreciate it. This aroma comes from a compound called trimethyl dihydronaphthalen, or TDN. It forms in wine over time through hydrolysis of carotenoids. Carotenoids are the pigments that give carrots, pumpkins, and red peppers their yellow, orange, and red colors. They are also precursors for important substances like vitamin A and to TDN, which gives aged Riesling its signature petrol note. The development of this aroma depends on how many carotenoids are present in the grape, which in turn is influenced by growing conditions. Several factors contribute to carotenoid accumulation. Higher grape ripeness, which usually means lower yields and later harvest. Strong sun exposure due to the climate and reducing the number of grape bunches per vine. Water stress, climate and limited irrigation. High acidity, linking to cooler climate. So the petrol note is more likely to develop in higher quality Rieslings growing under ideal conditions, and less likely in cheaper wines from higher yield vineyards in less suitable climate. We will revisit the topic when we taste the wine. Riesling has two key qualities that make it ideal for a wide range of sweetness levels. First, its high acidity is essential for balancing sweetness. Without enough acidity, a sweet wine would taste syrupy and heavy. Second, although Riesling is a cool climate grape, it benefits from a long, sunny autumn, which helps it accumulate enough sugar for producing naturally sweet wines. Riesling can be found in style ranging from dry and off-dry to semi-sweet, sweet, and even luxurious dessert wines. And Riesling performs well at every level of sweetness. Only Gewürztraminer offers a similar versatility. Alsace and Clare Valley focus exclusively on producing dry, full-bodied Rieslings, both with distinct regional differences. Austria is often considered home of some of the finest dry Rieslings, which combine the dryness and richness of Alsace Riesling with the aromatic intensity of German examples. The US and New Zealand produce both dry and sweet Rieslings. In line with modern preferences for drier wines, Germany has also increased its production of dry Riesling, especially for export. However, even these German dry Rieslings often hover near the boundary of off-dry and are typically characterized by low alcohol levels, around 9–11%. In contrast, Rieslings from Alsace generally have 12–13%. That said, younger German winemakers are starting to craft drier Riesling with higher alcohol content. Still, German specialty remains semi-sweet and sweet Rieslings, and their quality ranges from outstanding masterpiece to more basic lower-grade options. To better understand what to expect from sweet German Rieslings, and sweet Riesling in general, it helps to know how naturally sweet wines are made. We will cover this in more detail later, but here is a brief overview. There are some simple and inexpensive ways to produce sweet wine. One method is stop fermentation before all the sugar is converted into alcohol, usually by chilling the wine and filtering out the yeast. The result is a wine with lower alcohol content. Another method is to add sugar into already finished dry wine. This approach is common, easy, and cheap, at least when we are talking about still wines. Sparkling wines is a different story. Many of the lower-priced semi-sweet and sweet German wines are made using these methods. Fortunately, with simpler style, are mostly intended to the domestic market and are less often exported. Higher quality, naturally sweet wines, however, are made using grapes that accumulated so much sugar that fermentation stops naturally, leaving residual sugar in the wine. There are three main techniques used to produce such grapes. All of them involve concentration the sugar by removing water from the berries, and each method brings its own unique set of flavors to the final wine. It's worth noting that these techniques can only be applied to the grape varieties capable to building high up sugar level, and Riesling is one of a few that fits the description perfectly. The first method is freezing grape on the vine. This process preserves the original taste of the grapes while intensifying it. Wines made this way are known as ice wine in Canada and as ice wine in Germany. Riesling is not the only grape variety used for ice wine, but this one the most popular choices. The second method is drying the grape on the vine. This technique gives the wine aromas of resin and drying fruits. There are variations where grapes are dried after harvest as well. In the US, wines made this way are often labeled as late harvest. Finally, there is the method of noble rot. The finest sweet wines are made from grapes affected by Botrytis cinerea, also known as noble rot. I covered this fungus in the more detail in the video about Sauterne. In Germany and Austria, Botrytized Riesling are labeled as Beerenauslese and Trockenbeerenauslese. Australia also produced Botrytized Rieslings. As you can see, Riesling is incredibly versatile. When buying Riesling, it is helpful to have at least a general idea of what to expect, starting with its sweetness level. Riesling is German's flagship wine, but understanding German wine labels is not always straightforward. Let's take a look on what key terms you should watch when you're choosing a German Riesling, in addition to the name of the wine and its region of origin. Germany has never been a champion of simplicity. Unlike many other countries, the classification of German wine is based on the sugar content in the grapes, not in the wine itself. Important to remember, we are talking about sugar in the grapes before fermentation. According to German wine law, quality wines made without adding sugar falls into the following categories. Cabinet. These are the most delicate and light-bodied Rieslings. They offer high acidity and aromas of green apples and citrus fruits. Cabinet wines can be dry, off-dry, and occasionally semi-sweet. The dry versions typically have 11–12% of alcohol, while the sweeter ones have 8–9%. Spätlese. The name means late harvest. Spätlese is made from riper grapefruit cabinet, resulting in fully bodied wines with more intense aromas. Here, notes of citrus and even peaches begin to replace green apple. Spätlese wines can be either dry or sweet, and the sweet ones are noticeably sweeter than cabinet. They also tend to have high alcohol content. Spätlese is also more suitable for aging, up to 10 years, while cabinet is best enjoyed young. Auslese. These wines are made from very ripe grapes, often with bunches hand-selected at harvest. Some Auslese wines include grapes affected by noble rot. While you can occasionally find dry Auslese, most are sweet, with richer and more complex flavors than Spätlese. If Botrytized grapes are present, the wine may be labeled with a word called capsule. Beerenauslese. Rare and high-quality sweet wines made exclusively with Botrytized grapes. Trockenbeerenauslese. These are the rarest, most prestigious, and most expensive German sweet wines. They are produced only from individually hand-selected Botrytized grapes that are heavily ricined. TBA wines cannot be made every year, as they require specific weather conditions. The alcohol content is usually quite low, rarely exceeding 8%. Riesling. This is a wine made from grape freezed naturally on the vine. There are two more important terms you can also find on the German labels. Trocken, dry, halbtrocken, semi-dry. If neither of these terms appears on the label, the wine is sweet. Riesling's high acidity and bright yet delicate aromatics also make it an excellent grape for sparkling wine production. Most sparkling Rieslings come from Germany and Austria. Unfortunately, German winemaking faced a period of decline in the second half of the 20th century, and this especially affects sparkling wine producers. However, in recent years, German winemaking has experienced a renaissance, and it's now possible to find high-quality sparkling Rieslings once again. German and Riesling sparkling wine are generally referred as a sect, and when Riesling is used, the wine is labeled Riesling sect. Austrian sects tend to be higher quality than German ones, though for us exception. We will cover sect in more detail another time. Sparkling Rieslings are also produced in Canada and the United States. Let's briefly summarize the key Riesling producers in the world today. Germany is the largest producer of Riesling. The main regions are Mosel, Rheinhessen, Rheingau, and Pfalz. Germany produces all styles, from bone dry to very sweet, but is historically known for its sweeter wines. Classic German dry Rieslings are characterized by low alcohol content, delicate body, and aromatic intensity. Australia is the second largest Riesling producer after Germany. The Clare Valley and Eden Valley are particularly renowned. Clare Valley Rieslings are distinctive, known for their sharp citric acidity and notes of toast and honeysuckle. Interestingly, Australian Rieslings tend to age faster than their German counterparts. Even a 3-year-old bottle can show deep yellow hues and that characteristic petrol aroma. France's Alsace region has been cultivated Riesling since at least the 15th century, just like Germany. Alsace Rieslings are bone dry, full-bodied, and rich. They are well known for their aging potential and can easily develop complexity over 20 years or more. Austria is another important Riesling country. The Wachau and Rheinstall regions are famous for their dry, full-bodied Riesling, while the Lake Northdale area focused on luxury sweet Riesling made from petrified grapes. New Zealand doesn't produce large volumes of Riesling, but what it does produce in higher quality, ranging from dry to sweet. Compared to Australia, New Zealand's Rieslings are typically lighter and more delicate. Caithness, Ontario, and British Columbia region also contribute to the Riesling world. Ontario is especially known for its world-class ice wine, while British Columbia produces both ice wine and dry or sparkling Rieslings. In the USA, Riesling primarily produced in Washington, Oregon, and New York State. American Riesling are generally soft and fruity, with more sweet than dry styles. Washington State makes sparkling Riesling. So Riesling is definitely a variety that deserves the attention of wine lovers and can easily win over many fans. The key is simply to choose the Riesling style that best fits your mood and occasion, and enjoy. Today I have a wine from a region not typically associated with Riesling, Chile, the Maple Valley. It comes from Cousineau Macul, a family Rhine winery founded back in 1856. This winery is considered one of Chile's leading producers of premium wines. When I visit Cousineau Macul in January, I expected the usual Chilean lineup: Carmenère, Cabernet Sauvignon, Syrah, and Chardonnay for whites. Of course, they produce those varieties, and they do it very well. But what I did not expect to find was Riesling. And not just any Riesling, but such remarkable that I could not resist taking a bottle home with me. The wine comes from the Isidora line, named after Isidora Goyenechea, the founder of winery. And truly impressive woman, especially for 19th century Chile. Isidora was a major industrialist, one of the wealthiest people in the world at the time, and a driving force behind Chilean industrial and social development. She was deeply committed to philanthropy and the advancement of her country. And of course, she founded vineyard, which her descendants continue to care for to this day. Let's return to the Riesling that bears Isidora's name. Vintage 2022. Considering that Chile is in the southern hemisphere, this wine is already 3 years old. Alcohol content 13.5. The Maple Valley is nested right to the heart of Chile, close to Santiago, and lies in the foothills on Andean mountains. This region does not just get a lot of sun, it gets a lot of sun. The autumns are dry and sunny, giving Riesling every opportunity to ripe fully and accumulate significant amount of sugar. However, the cold nights, thanks to chilly air flowing down from the Andean glaciers, help to grapes retain their essential acidity. For this wine, after crushing, the grapes are macerated with their skins on cold condition for 36 hours before fermentation. These steps help to enrich the wine's aroma. When fermentation is carried out slowly at a lower temperature, at 12-13 degrees centigrade, for 4 months, this gentle approach preserves all the delicate floral and fruity aromas we love in Riesling. Let's try. This one for you, this one for me. Pale with greenish hints. Tropical fruits, white flowers, grapefruit, green apples. Bone dry with lovely crisp acidity. Notes of citrus and green apples dominate, refreshing and sharp, and a subtle petrol note. And this wine is just 3 years old. As I mentioned it earlier, plenty of sun, low grape yield, excellent sun exposure for each bunch, and limited irrigation. All these factors encourage carotenoid accumulation and early development of these petrol neurons. At the same time, wine still preserves a high intensity of floral fruit aroma. And this combination of freshness and complexity gives wine a special piquancy. A nice, interesting Riesling indeed. A perfect example how Riesling can shine even outside the traditional regions like Germany or Alsace. Stay with me, subscribe to my channel. Feel free to ask questions and don't hesitate to support me. Salud!